All right, today we're talking with Chase Roach and Chris Hoganson from the Roach Hoganson Band. We're talking about their very first album under this project. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
So we talked with Chris earlier. We learned a little bit about Chris, but so Chase, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh man, Chris and I met in middle school, 6th grade, played basketball together. First time I went to his house, he had a drum set, and it was like, like the coolest thing ever. And our dads later in life became best friends, and they would just get together and hang out and drink and listen to tunes. And
oh yeah.
So I mean, we just always grew up around music, so it was just inherent that we were gonna do something at some point. And you know, we were late bloomers. I didn't even start playing guitar until I was 17.
Yeah.
And you know, Chris started playing drums earlier, and then kind of gave it up. And then when we lived together, it all kind of came back again. And I decided to go to guitar school, and so I got really serious. That was after Chris and Matt came over to the house one day, and I had this really crazy looking guitar, and I just thought I was a guitar god, right? I had it all strapped on. And I was like making what I called sound shapes because it just sounded horrible. And I looked up on the steps.
Sound shapes, yeah.
In the bedroom, and Chris and Matt are standing up on the steps. And I looked at him, I was like, how cool is that? And Matt goes, "You suck. You need to take lessons." And so that kind of started the whole journey.
All right, so if we've never met before, tell us a little bit about this first album this month last year.
It really originated. We used to have a band called Joe's Coffee House Trio years ago, and we had a front guy, and we kind of did old school beatnik stuff. He would read stories and read poetry, and then we would just kind of do the music in the background. And so some of the tunes kind of originated from that time. Some of them I wrote while I was in music school, but they were acoustic tunes, and so they fit in that place. And then we also had our rock stuff, which we didn't know kind of what to do with it, and so then. Once Joe's Coffee House Trio kind of went away, that was when coffee houses were around, and so we really didn't have we had a pretty cool little following for our little coffee shop thing. So then when people would hire us, we'd have to say, "Do you want Joe's Coffee House Trio, or do you want Liquid Jimmy? Or Franks and Beans, or whatever random name we were going by at the time for the instrumental rock part?" And so we always had to be clear, because we played one gig, and they wanted Liquid Jimmy, but they said, "Oh no, we want Joe's Coffee House Trio." And so we showed up to do Joe's Coffee House Trio. They're like, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
This is what you wanted. No, we wanted the other thing. Like, well, that's a whole different set of stuff.
Yeah. Different equipment, different set list, everything.
Oh yeah. So we, but then all this really beautiful acoustic music came out of that, and so. You know, Liquid Jimmy's neato. I mean, we love Liquid Jimmy, and that's been our passion for a long time.
Yeah.
I call it the swinging the guitar over the head music. But this project was really about taking music that I would play in one-man shows, or we might do little acoustic sets or things. And everybody would always say, "Man, where's that at? Like, why can't we hear that music?" And so that was kind of where this came from. And yeah, we're not young, but we're the right age to make this music better. There's no ego involved. There's no,
sure.
We're not trying to prove anything. It was really about taking this really beautiful music that we've written over the last 30, 40 years, whatever, and put it on a record and making it exactly what we envisioned. And taking the time. I mean, we recorded this thing for 4 years or something crazy. I mean, COVID didn't help, but there was no rush.
Yeah.
That was one thing we agreed to, was we're just going to take our time.
So musically, I know that genre has become a little less important. where do you guys see this album? Where does This Month Last Year fit in?
Oh, for a genre, everywhere. Man, I always kind of go back to a little jazz and blues. Really, definitely rock tones in there, but jazz and blues is what I get out of it. But I don't like to label it any certain way.
Oh yeah, I mean even working with the company that puts it out everywhere. Okay, what does it sound like? What would you characterize it as? I don't know.
So Chase, tell us who are some of your big musical influences?
This project really kind of came from a few places, and one of those was Joe Satriani, Eric Johnson, Pat Metheny, Al Di Meola were really probably the main people kind of in my head working on these tunes. When I was in music school, the funny thing, I wrote funky folk, and I came home and played it for Chris and his wife. I'd recorded it and then had a little cassette deck or something.
Yeah.
And put it in the cassette deck. I was like, check out the new tune. He hits play, and Tara, Chris's wife, goes, are you guys playing country now? And so it was just, but in that moment it was like, we aren't bound by anything. We aren't bound by any kind of genre, or we just write whatever's in here. And I saw a great interview with Steve Vai one time, and they asked him, how do you play instrumental music, how do you feel relevant, especially during grunge? And he said, I don't care. I play music from the heart, and the people that get it, and the people that don't.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, for fans that may not be as familiar with some of your music, some of the bands and projects you've had in the past, what kind of influences of your own do you think translate into this album, and how?
Oh my gosh, I think this whole record is the story of the last 30 years.
Oh
right?
yeah, at least. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I mean, there's parts, Song for DNC, written for previous stepkids. Thought I was going to lose my job, and freshly married, I have these new kids, and don't know if I'm going to be able to pay the bills, and I still get a little emotional about it. And I was in between guitar lessons, teaching guitar lessons at the time, and had a little break. Somebody didn't show up, and that song just completely fell out. The whole thing, start to finish. And when I played it for Chris the first time, it was so great. Live in this little junk house, and he comes over and I hit play. And I said, check out this new tune I wrote. And he listened to it and he goes, that's Eric Johnson, right? I was like, no, it's me.
Yeah, there was a lot of Eric Johnson back then for sure. There really was. Yeah.
So, but we had a lot of pivotal tunes, I think, from funky folk, I think Song for DNC, that
Mm-hmm.
one. There really were some really key tunes that kind of shaped that part of our musical emotional thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Egyptian thing was really kind of a Led Zeppelin thing.
Yeah.
Our favorite song being Kashmir,
Mm-hmm.
almost an ode to Kashmir, where you just get this heavy, drudgy sand
Yeah.
thing, and beautiful little changing melodies and theme and variations thing. And This Month Last Year was great because we were a little frustrated with our current band, Liquid Jimmy, in some moment, as bands' relationships, and we left band practice, and we didn't know where the band was going, and we were just kind of frustrated. I remember turning the corner at the golf course, and I looked at Chris and I said, this just feels like This Month Last Year. and went home and then wrote that tune.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the band's first album, This Month Last Year. How long has this album been in the making?
Oh, definitely 30 plus years.
Yeah, 32, 33 years for sure anyway, so.
Because we lived together in the early 90s.
Mhm. Yeah, it's early,
So-
92 or so, 91, 92.
And wrote probably about half the tunes around that time, you know,
Mhm.
between there and then and teaching guitar lessons.
Yeah, bits and pieces anyway of the tunes.
And then some of them, Amnesia Lane and Opening the Door and Jackman's Waterfall. You know, Drager was a tune from our Joe's Coffee House trio. And
Yeah.
I think the song was the wooden, it went with a story that was called The Wooden Sword or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, the current version of it was nothing like it was back then, but that was kind of where it originated. And then kind of resurrecting it now, thinking about my two step boys that I have. There's two different kind of stories in the music in that one, and it just made me think about them.
Yeah.
And so it just made sense to call it Drager, which was Drayson and Jagger together, and then kind of recreate it to this new thing it is now.
Most of the songs have taken on many different shapes and forms, and I mean, they've been reworked time and time again. You know, we might pull for some from this song, and then here's this that we just did during warm up or something, and it all kind of just comes together, and then piecing them in throughout. You know, keeping continuity and everything. So.
Yeah, you think about Egyptian thing, it's probably the
Oh.
only one, the rhythm part,
Yeah.
it's really never ever changed. I mean, it's pretty much the
Yeah.
same. TJR.
Yeah,
same thing.
despite an arrangement change at recording,
Mhm.
that was fun to overcome. So he always likes to change things up. So I was like, okay, I'm practicing this way, and now I get to change that up. So it all worked out good, but I was like, God dang it.
So, the band's first album, this month last year, obviously very personal, with some real backstory and parallels to your life, and kind of track your lives and the events together. But and it's also very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Loads of some have said that the emotion is as nuanced and as layered as the guitar tracks. Another great feature about the album. Some of the reaction that fans and casual listeners who maybe don't know the band, one or the two of you so well, and you've got a double-edged sword, because it's also an instrumental album. So that kind of lends itself to the listener kind of creating their own story arc, having their own internal story that's going along with the album. So from that perspective, do you guys see or feel any kind of a theme to the album or story arc to the album separate from that personal connection?
I think the most important thing that the best feedback I've gotten, one from you, of course, going, listening to it and going, all right, how the hell are you going to play this thing live? Because there are a lot of guitar parts or whatever, but which we're figuring that out now. But the record is a start to finish, from Opening the Door to Song for DNC. It really is a record to sit down and listen to all the way through.
Yeah.
Make a coffee, make you a drink, and just sit down and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then you fall in love with different tunes. You know, talking about like Squash Turtles, for instance. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know, I think of people looking at that song title, which came from a student of mine. I played it for her, and she said, "That sounds like Squash Turtles." And so that was where the name come from. Still have no idea.
What that's about.
And but the whole thing is a story, literally from start to finish. And even putting the record together, didn't really have. We had a few different ideas of what the opening song was going to be, but none of them worked. As we moved to create this kind of storyline, so then Opening the Door fell out, and it was perfect. Because then it really was opening the door to this journey through this whole record, start to finish.
So some reactions I've heard from some listeners of the album this month, last year. Again, it's very emotional, very, very soulful, very nuanced work. But one of the common themes I hear people who listen to it, they say it sounds very optimistic. Do you feel that way? And was that on purpose?
I think just heartfelt. I think that was really, when Chris came in and did the TJR, the song for my son Tristan, it was never meant to have drums on it. But we just did a try. Chris's Tristan's godfather, and so we kind of did a little drum test, and he played this just emotional. His connection to the tune was great, and so
yeah, it's an emotional song for sure. Ever since the first time I heard it, way back when. I mean, that one was
he's 28.
90s, maybe late 90s or something.
Oh, yeah.
Early 2000s.
96.
So, 96, so, yeah. Yeah, so, no, that one has Tristan meeting Godson and everything. It definitely is an emotional song. You get to pick up on Tristan coming into the room when he's recording way back when, before it's even a song, and starts talking to him. That's the coolest part, is hearing his voice actually on the song, and Chase is always like, when that happened, he said, I was like, hey, be quiet, record, and it turned out great.
So what kind of reactions are you guys getting from fans, from others about the album? And what are some of your favorite or some surprising reactions?
It's been crazy to hear how people are moved by the whole thing, and they want to listen to the whole record, and then they'll fall in love with different parts of it. But I have a buddy that's been going through a hard time, and he sent me a really cool message, which I sent to Chris and you as well, and how he listened to TJR actually, and then everything just kind of made sense, and said he shed a couple of tears, and then he felt great, and it goes back to that positive thing again, right? They feel good, and it's been pretty wild. I mean, from people that I would not expect to really love music, the private messages and the different things of people that are just saying how much they can't stop listening to it. They just love it. It's been pretty crazy, pretty amazing.
Yeah, I get what a large part it is from what we normally have done. And a lot of people just knows way from back when we were Liquid Jimmy, and man, all we did was just rock, and loud rock at that. So I hear it's a nice departure from that. So got a message from a guy in South Texas yesterday, and he's on a road trip, and sends me a picture of it on his dash playing, and he enjoying it. It's good road doing music, man. Just put it on and go.
All right, so for the guitar nerds out there like myself, tell us a little bit about the guitar porn on this album. There's a lot of guitars. Tell us about the gear you use.
Of course, my Taylor that's back here, that was the main guitar that I played for most of the rhythm parts, and some 12-string, a little bit of mandolin on opening the door, and then my blue Ibanez semi-hollow body was the majority of the lead parts on that one. Were the majority of the lead parts. And then some various other Ibanez guitars, kind of an Ibanez nut. I think Chris was alluding to that earlier.
Okay.
I tried to really put the guitars that I almost wrote the tunes with, tried to put those, kind of incorporate those. And then if I get stuck, it's the guitars will talk to you and go, no, this is what you're looking for. And kind of resurrected a few that I hadn't played in a long time and blew the dirt off it. man, they were just perfect. Song for D was one of those, but DNC, but. And then I had this old Fame guitar. It's probably worth $60. Not worth anything. Still, the strings on it are 20 years old. And this month last year, after that weird band practice thing, I went home and I pulled that thing out, and this month last year fell out. I refused to change the strings on it because I know it's going to sound different, and it just sounds like this big old school Gibson guitar. It's probably worth $40. And I've given that guitar to Tristan since then, but yeah.
All right, that's a wrap.